owl. So now, back into the forest, Nightwing goes looking for Hakuryu, as a voice tells him that he better find his partner, or his chances at winning will lower, and he will have a high chance of death. Nightwing would rush through the forest, constantly looking, trying to find Hakuryu, only to find Hakuryu, and Hakuryu grabs his spear and tries slicing and killing Nightwing. Nightwing, in confusion, asks him what's going on. It's when Hakuryu would tell him, "I have to kill my enemy, and you are my enemy."
I'm stuck in a never-ending dream where my wishes and hopes cannot be seen, and it's killing me, but I can't let go. There's a sadness raining down on me, and the future is looking oh so bleak, but I'm holding on so dearly to precious memories. To protect the ones I cherish, I've gotta be stronger. Don't wanna hesitate, I wanna be braver. So no matter what may come, I can face the morning sun. Brave, shine. You reached out to me, you let me see your light. On the night I suffered most to save my life. Building all the things that we believe in, a test of faith I know I can win. I'll grant us love and peace for all time. 'Cause you shine.
That's when Nightwing, still confused, dodging some of Hakuryu's attacks, would ask Hakuryu, what are you talking about? Me and you both know we're partners already." And that's when Hakuryu says, "Nothing will stand in the way of my goal." As Hakuryu would kick him, sending him in a tree, and only with a split-second dodge does Nightwing dodge Hakuryu's spear and get cut. But that's when Hakuryu, with the blade still stabbed into the tree that Nightwing is holding on to, would use the tree to bind and restrain Nightwing, stopping him from moving. Nightwing would tell him it doesn't have to be this way. And then that's when another voice says, "But it really does, though," as the Lelouch would come out the shadows. The Lelouch would proclaim that his servant is no longer his anymore, and Hakuryu is a servant under him now. Nightwing would question Lelouch on why on where is his partner. That's when Lelouch would say, "I don't need a partner. And that's why I lost him in the forest." That's when Nightwing would ask Lelouch to not do this. Lelouch would tell him, "You are truly a novice if you believe I'll show mercy of anyone that stands in the way of my conviction." When Lelouch would give Hakuryu the order to kill Nightwing. But just in luck, Naruto would appear and use a command seal to negate Lelouch's hold on Hakuryu. Hakuryu would stop mid-swing as the blade so close to touching his neck. And Naruto would yell at Lelouch, asking him, "What is he doing?" And that's when Lelouch would tell him, "You just stopped us from killing one of the other competitors." And then that's when Nightwing would be released as Hakuryu apologizes for what he did to him. But that's also when Hakuryu's rage starts to bubble as he turns around gripping his spear, getting ready to charge at Lelouch for what he did. But that's when Nightwing would grab them before he could charge and tell him to calm down. Calm down. But then at that time, Lelouch would tell Naruto, you need to stay in your place. And then that's when, in an unpredictable event, he uses his Geass on Naruto for Naruto to stay subservient. And then Lelouch would then tell Naruto to go fight Hakuryu and Nightwing. And Hakuryu would tell Nightwing, let go, that Naruto's about to attack us. But that's when Nightwing would tell Hakuryu, we can't fight him. And Hakuryu would look at him and say, yes, we can. And but that's when Nightwing, he says, would tell Hakuryu, he's obviously not in control like you were, and there's a chance that he can break out of this. So we have to try to at least break him out. And then that's when, with a Rasengan coming right at both Nightwing and Hakuryu, they would jump out the way, dodging it. As Lelouch would laugh. Nightwing would pull out one of his wingdings and throw it in Lelouch's way, as Lelouch would use his cape to block it. Hakuryu would go charging at Lelouch, and thanks to his incredible speed, Lelouch would get pinned down into the ground, where Hakuryu would give him an ultimatum to free Naruto or die. And then Lelouch would then say, or I can tell Naruto to kill himself instead. And that's when Naruto would pull out a kunai and put it to his neck. And Lelouch would then say to Hakuryu that you have to listen to me, because it seems like your master does not have the guts to win this. So I want you to go and kill your master. Hakuryu would stand there conflicted at what to do. Nightwing would tell him, go ahead and try. But that's when Hakuryu would stand back up, getting off of Lelouch, as Lelouch would have a devilish grin and tell Hakuryu to kill his master and say, go ahead, dog, kill the mutt that stands before you. And with one quick slash, Lelouch was cut in the face. And then that's when Nightwing would yell, no. And then that's when Hakuryu says, don't worry, he's fine. But then that's when Lelouch would find himself in a very odd predicament, as he can no longer feel his face. And Hakuryu would explain, thanks to my ability, the feeling cut off the feeling in your body. And Hakuryu says, release your Geass, and then I will release my curse on you. Lelouch frustratingly releases the Geass, giving Naruto his freedom again, as Naruto drops the kunai. And then Hakuryu would release the curse and tell Lelouch if he sees him again, he will kill him, no matter what his master says. That's when Hakuryu would walk off, and Nightwing would follow Hakuryu. Then, to not leave the situation high and dry, Naruto would punch Lelouch over what he just did.
As he should.
Asking him if he's stupid. And then Lelouch would say, no, are you stupid? Stupid. Have you never played Go chess? You need to sacrifice some pieces to get your victory sometimes. And you stood in the way of my easy kill with my control over Hakuryu. And then Naruto would tell him it's never a good thing to manipulate a person, especially someone who has done nothing to you. Lelouch would get even more frustrated seeing Naruto as a hopeful idiot, and he would tell Naruto he better watch his mouth or he will use his Geass again. But that's when Naruto would say, going off of what the voice told us, you don't even have the ability to use your Geass without using my power anymore, because you just used it 2 times in a row, which would automatically exhaust how long you would even be able to hold it now. And then Lelouch says, would you want to bet, as he gets ready to unleash the Geass. But before he could, Naruto uses another command seal to make it to where it isn't possible for Lelouch to use his Geass without Naruto's permission. And then Lelouch get more mad and storm off out of the woods, as Naruto would take a breath of relief and follow Lelouch, keeping a close eye on what he does next. While Ichigo and Edward make their way into the city, Ichigo and Edward feel a weird feeling, another heartbeat, as they both sense another competitor. They go following the energy source, only to find a cafe and the people they're looking for drinking at this cafe. And that's where Edward would go charging at the two, yelling at Danzai to bring him back home. And Danzai would say, I don't know what you're talking about. And then that's when Edward would look to the boy and say, are you the reason why I'm here? The boy does not acknowledge his existence. Gon just continues drinking his drink. And Danzai says, what are you talking about? What other world? Edward would be confused, and Ichigo would also be confused. But that's when Ichigo would say, hey, we must have the wrong people. And then Ichigo and Edward would leave Gon and Danzai. As they leave, that's when Danzai says, well, we at least know 2 of our other opponents now. And then Danzai would ask Gon, from what you just witnessed, do they seem like competition for you? That's when Gon would say, no matter who stands in my way, I will kill them without mercy. But back with Urza and Saber, after their clash, both warriors find respect for one another. And Urza finally listens to Saber. They both talk and exchange words, and offers Saber an apology, and even offers Saber to find her respective master. And Saber would also hold out the same olive branch to Urza. Urza and Saber would go walking off. Back with Peter and Klaus. Peter would report to Klaus saying a good amount of all the competitors are in the city now. And that's when Klaus would say, did you get a good look at their abilities so we can at least identify what class each one are? That's when Peter would say he saw 2 women fight with swords, and so he asked Klaus, is there a chance that there's 2 sabers? And then Klaus says, probably not. It's probably another master with a saber servant that were just sparring. Then Peter would also tell Klaus how there was a short guy and a teenager making a ruckus throughout the city, asking about how did they end up here. Klaus would then come up with the same hypothesis that they must also be servant and master. Cut through what else he would say and say, well, then this doesn't help what we want to know, and that is who sent us here, and why did they bring us here? Why would they care that our universe will die if we are not all in the same universe? What is the purpose of all of them? And then Edward Edward and Ichigo would be exhausted throughout all of their searching and check into a hotel. Urza and Saber would also hold out under a bridge in Fuyuki. Klaus and Spider-Man would stay inside of the library, being on a complete alert of what's going on. Back with Gon and Danzai. They sit on the Ferris wheel together as Danzai starts yelling on how fun this is, even though the Ferris wheel moves very slow. Gon would just stare at him in confusion. Like, can you not feel the rush? What if just a bolt came out of the Ferris wheel and then we fell to our deaths? Wouldn't that be so tragic? But wouldn't that be so good? It would be an unpredictable death. And then, yet again, Gon would look the other way and ignore his existence after that comment. But with Hakuryu and Nightwing, they would finally make it into the city, and Nightwing would tell Hakuryu that it might be better off that we don't go into the city. Hakuryu would ask why. That's when Nightwing would explain to him that everyone may be heading into the city hoping to find someone else. There could be other people like Lelouch trying to kill another competitor, or even worse. That's when Nightwing says it would be better if we just set camp in the forest and talk and learn more about each other so we have a better understanding and he can actually formulate a plan on how they should do things. That's when Hakuryu and Nightwing would start a fire and Hakuryu would explain his abilities and skills. Nightwing would also explain his situation, explain how Hakuryu would be more reliant on himself for anything magic or power-wise. After this talk would gain some respect for Nightwing, because he could relate to Nightwing in the idea of not being so powerful, as he would flash to his times of seeing the likes of Alibaba and Sinbad, so many others being good at magic and Mogwai manipulation, and how he wasn't that good. But then, a explosion happens in the city that catches everyone's attention.